Hello, everybody. So, turning to comfort foods. Yes, I'm super guilty of this. Carbs, maybe overeating, the sugar might bring you an instant happy boost. But what if there's another way you can take a bite out of your stress? So specializing in culinary medicine, this is just a fascinating discussion here. We have Dr. Sabrina Falquier joining us to say that we can eat our way to happiness. I love this, Dr. Sabrina. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, a lot of times, I turn to the wrong things, I think, to make me just feel like that instant moment of gratification, and then you regret it later. So what can we actually eat to help us feel better, stress less?
Such a good question, because a lot of times if we think of it as almost like a formula of really thinking about what we put on our plate. So really thinking about no matter what you're choosing to eat, we want to have half our plate being fruits and vegetables, a quarter plate whole grains, and a quarter plate well thought out proteins.
Okay.
So when we think of that, we want to think about not that we need to eat toddler style of separating it, but if we're creating, I made a couple samples of breakfast dishes since we're on breakfast here.
Yeah.
I'm doing something as simple as making a breakfast parfait that
That's
often
so
we think of that as luxurious, something you do on vacation. But in this cup of really putting those pieces of that plate to work. So we have our fruits with the raspberries and bananas and blueberries in there. We have our protein with the plain yogurt, which is really good for our microbiome. It's filling with that protein. Then we have the grains, so granola, or you can just do oats. So that fits that whole grain section.
Okay.
And then you can top it with a little bit of honey or otherwise. So you get that comfort. And when you eat in a way that has these components, your blood sugar levels are much more level. You have much less yo-yoing. So you're essentially giving yourself that comfort, that ability to reduce stress and anxiety, and also nurturing your body, which I know a lot of us right now, it's January. We're thinking about, eating better. We have New Year's resolutions. And sometimes these, especially right now, they're a struggle, right? So we're stressed out. There's so much we have no control over. And at the same time, the idea of eating healthy often equals kind of eating sterile. So if we change that conversation around and say, wow, I can create, either a breakfast parfait, or here we have overnight oats.
Oh,
look, just look how delicious that looks,
Netta.
Good.
I was going to say, Dr. Sabrina, I would love to be like, I'm going to have a parfait for breakfast today. Because you're right, it sounds luxurious, but it will make you start off the day in just such a nice way. And then what did you cook up there? What's that?
So this one is overnight oats. So again, another one that you literally can spend 3 minutes the night before in a mason jar, putting, again, those oats, which are going to give you the whole grains. I put some raw cacao, which is really good for you, a fantastic antioxidant, tiny bit of honey for sweetness, which you can leave out altogether, a little bit of vanilla and cinnamon, because all those spices really, really help our body as well. I put some plant-based milk in there, shook it up in a mason jar, and the next day it comes out with this beautiful consistency.
Ooh.
And then I mix it again, same with some cacao nibs, some berries in there. So again, what looks incredibly luxurious in the sense of I have treated myself, that's self-love. And adding to that, what is in your family, in yourself, in your family, in your culture, in your upbringing? What is a recipe that your mom or grandma or grandpa made? How can you bring that back and use maybe the spices you use in the overnight oats are spices that are different than the honey and cinnamon and vanilla that I use.
I love
making it your own. So it's not just, okay, this is what sterile healthy looks like for me versus for you, Netta, it's going to look really different.
I was going to say, Dr. Sabrina, my family's Persian. So for breakfast, we always had pita bread with feta cheese, tomatoes, cucumbers, and mint leaves. And that was like breakfast in my life growing up. And I loved it. And it was, you had some greens in there in the morning.
Yes. I love that I so love that you just brought up savory because that's something we often lose is it doesn't mean that breakfast has to be sweet and then we go on to savory afterwards. And Netta, what you just explained in your family, that is like golden words to me because that you have so many nutrients packed in there and what was comfort for you and your family. And I hope you still carry that forward.
I'll tell my mom this because for growing up for a while, I was like, this again. But no, I really miss it and appreciate it a lot. What else do you have up there? What else can we look at and consider to just boost our happiness?
So the roots of it, so one is eating the rainbow. So that's what we have visually here of making sure that even if we're eating on our own or just spending 5 minutes eating, of remembering that sitting down and having those 5 minutes where you're enjoying your food and really eating with your eyes first. That's one piece. The other piece is really the key and almost pulling away. And part of my company, the Sensation Salud, is waking up your senses around everything around food, from where we get it, maybe from the farmer's market, or we have a little herb garden. And then thinking about these 5 pillars of wellness, which fit into this. So number 1 is the food, which we focused on a little bit today. Number 2 is sleeping well, so honoring how much sleep our body needs. Number 3 is moving our body. So that could be, dancing in my kitchen while I'm cooking. It could be walking around the block. It could be, high intensity training. It doesn't have to, same thing. What you may like, Netta, may be very different than what I like, or a viewer. So think about what makes you happy. The fourth one is community. So finding people around you that really bring joy to you, which of course we can do in our kitchen by cooking with others, even if it's through virtually, which is a lot of what I do right now, are virtual classes with people from the community to students and otherwise, of helping us come together in the kitchen. And then the last one is mindfulness. So thinking about a way of doing things when we're fully immersed in the moment. So taking the time to make your parfait in beautiful layers, thinking about, are we adding different colors? All of those pieces are coming into that moment rather than mindless eating, where maybe we're eating while driving and it's kind of the side thing that's happening to our body.
Yeah, not eating in a rush. Dr. Sabrina, I hate to say this, but we are in a rush. We have to go to commercial break. But thank you for being on sensationssalud.com. We'll put that on our website. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. Thank you, Netta. Bye-bye.